The mind can often feel like a noisy neighbor that never knows when to leave you alone. Thoughts swirl, worries pile up, and before you know it, you're stuck in a mental traffic jam, unable to focus on anything else. The more you try to push these thoughts out, the louder they get, almost as if your brain is throwing a tantrum. But what if there was a way to turn down the volume without getting caught in the cycle of stress? What if you could train your mind to back off when it starts throwing its usual fits, leaving you free to live in the moment instead of being trapped in your head? Managing intrusive thoughts isn't about forcing them away. It's about learning how to deal with them without letting them control your life. Here's the kicker. The more you struggle with your thoughts, the harder it gets to break free. It's time to rethink your relationship with these mental interruptions and regain control over your narrative. Ready to find out how? Let's dive in. Imagine you're driving down the road and a thought pops into your head. What if I veer into oncoming traffic and cause a crash? If you latch onto that thought, believing it means something about you, perhaps that you're careless or dangerous, you might start avoiding driving altogether. The more you avoid it, the stronger that thought becomes. Your brain, seeing this thought as dangerous, amplifies it, almost as if it's trying to warn you. But here's where we can learn something valuable. As Eckhart Tolle wisely teaches in The Power of Now, you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. When we start to believe our thoughts, we give them power over us, shaping our behaviors and fears. Let's take another example. You find yourself obsessing over whether you hurt someone's feelings. Did I offend Kathy last night? You wonder. Maybe I did, but it's her fault anyway. But what I said wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. The more you argue with this thought, going back and forth, creating scenarios in your head, the more energy you waste. Instead of living in the present moment, you're trapped in a mental loop. Tolle reminds us, the mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. This internal battle drains our energy and keeps us from living a life filled with connection and purpose. We often try to numb ourselves with distractions, screens, drama, or substances, thinking they'll help us escape the discomfort of these thoughts. But in reality, the effort to avoid them only strengthens their grip. The more we resist, the more these thoughts seem to invade our minds. According to Tolle, whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. In other words, when we run from our thoughts, we're also running from our thoughts. We're also running from the freedom we seek. This cycle of avoidance, arguing or fighting against thoughts, often leads us to a place where we're so consumed by what's going on in our minds that we forget to live. The truth is, worry and intrusive thoughts are inevitable. They will come and go. What we can change is how we react to them. This is where acceptance and commitment therapy comes in, with a technique called cognitive defusion. This method is the art of creating space between yourself and your thoughts. Instead of engaging with them, you allow them to be present without giving them undue attention. As Tolle puts it, the present moment is all you have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. How do we apply this? It's simple. Notice the thought, acknowledge it, and then return to the present moment without judgment or struggle. This practice allows us to break free from the endless cycle of mental chatter and bring our focus back to what truly matters, living a life that's fully engaged, connected, and purpose-driven. For example, if you're having a panic attack and thinking, what if this is a heart attack? Instead of arguing with the thought, simply acknowledge it. Hello, mind. I'm noticing that you're worrying me again. We'll see what happens. By doing this, you're not feeding the fear, but simply observing it and then refocusing on the present moment. Now, you might wonder, why not just tell myself, of course it's not a heart attack, it's just a panic attack. Isn't that what traditional cognitive behavioral therapy would suggest? And yes, CAPT is great for challenging thoughts. And yes, CAPT is great for challenging thoughts and replacing them with more rational alternatives. For example, if you think, "What if everyone hates me?" you might remind yourself, "Not everyone hates me. Some people like me." Rational thinking is helpful in many situations. However, in the context of Tolle's teachings, if we only try to rationalize a thought, we're still engaging with the mind in a way that reinforces the ego. As Tolle explains in A New Earth, the ego is the false self, created by unconscious identification with the mind. By simply rationalizing a thought, we're still feeding the ego's need for control and certainty, which perpetuates suffering. True liberation comes when we let go of the need to control our thoughts altogether and simply observe them. If you've ever been stuck in a cycle of worry, you know that your mind will find endless reasons to argue. For example, you might think, "Okay, most panic attacks aren't heart attacks. But what if this time is the one? No, it's not. Look, I'm calming down. I can breathe, but what if this is the one?" And so on. This is exactly what Tolle refers to as the thinking mind going into overdrive. The more we try to control or silence our thoughts, the more they push back. Instead, Tolle teaches that we can disidentify with the mind. "You are not your thoughts," he writes. "When you notice your mind spiraling, simply observe it without judgment or engagement. I am the observer," Tolle says, "not the thoughts." From this place of detachment, you can let the thoughts pass freely without being swept away by them. So, ask yourself, has arguing with my thoughts ever worked? Has it helped me feel calm or present? People often get caught in the need for certainty, trying to solve the problem in their heads. Tolle's insight is that the ego thrives on certainty. The ego is always seeking control, always seeking certainty, because it thrives on it, he says. But life is inherently uncertain, and the more we try to grasp the future, the more we create anxiety. Embracing uncertainty is actually an opportunity to surrender to the present moment. When we stop trying to control or predict everything, we create space for peace and aliveness. If you find yourself caught in a cycle of worry, using diffusion might help. For example, you can say maybe, maybe not, or I can't control a panic attack, so I'll just let it pass. By doing this, you're escaping the tyranny of trying to fight an invisible monster. Tolle teaches that peace resides only in the present moment. In The Power of Now, he writes, realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. This is the essence of diffusion, shifting from engaging with the thoughts in your mind to noticing them without attachment. As you let go of the need for certainty, you open yourself up to acceptance and presence. The panic attack, or any worry, becomes just another passing experience, not something that defines you. Here's another example. Let's say you worry, what if my daughter gets in a car crash? Instead of obsessing over that thought, ask yourself, if I believe this thought, how will it help me? Will it bring me closer to living the life I want? Tolle reminds us, in A New Earth, that the ego thrives on fear and worry about the future. The past and future are an illusion, he says. Constantly worrying about what might happen pulls us away from the present moment. If you spend all your time worrying, you miss out on life as it happens right in front of you. Acknowledging the worry without engaging with it allows you to return to the life that's unfolding right now. Your brain will likely continue to throw up worries, like, what if I get fired? What if I can't find another job? But you can ask, is believing this thought going to help me live a meaningful life? Usually, the answer is no. So, notice the thought, acknowledge it, and return to the present moment. By observing the thought and not attaching meaning to it, you break free from the cycle of fear. Tolle would remind us that the mind is an instrument, a tool to be used, but we are not the tool. By acknowledging the thought but not identifying with it, you return to a state of presence where you can act in alignment with your values. Lastly, When worries like "what if people don't like me?" or "what if I embarrass myself?" arise, don't engage with them. Instead, say maybe. Maybe my mind is right, maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. Then shift your attention back to what you were doing before the thought appeared. In A New Earth, Tolle teaches that the ego feeds on judgment, both of ourselves and others. By acknowledging the thought and saying maybe, maybe not, you avoid feeding the ego's need for approval, and you return to the present moment. The next time you're caught in a cycle of overthinking, remember, thoughts are just passing moments in the mind, not your reality. You don't have to engage with them or let them control your actions. Instead, notice the thought, acknowledge it, and then let it go. It's not about banishing the thoughts. It's about disengaging from the emotional reactions that follow. When you stop feeding into the mental noise, you free yourself from the constant stress of trying to control or overanalyze everything. Over time, this simple act of observing thoughts, without attaching meaning or judgment, will give you a greater sense of calm. You'll find that life isn't meant to be spent worrying or trapped in your head. It's happening in the present moment, right here and now. By learning to let go of the need for certainty and control, you allow space for peace, clarity, and a deeper sense of freedom. Your wish to grow as a person and to embrace the present moment probably inspired you to watch this video. This choice came about due to a deeper understanding. I really think you should subscribe to this channel. It's a great way to keep going on your journey of self-discovery with our new videos that we upload every day. As soon as you understand the importance of this warning, please respond by writing now. With a little effort, we can definitely get this done.